You're listening to The Bon Ray Show. It's 8 in the evening. Tune in every night at 8 to listen to The Bon Ray Show on Irish News Radio or ITV.ie. Good afternoon, good evening. This is the Bon Ray Show on ITV.ie and Irish News Radio. Today is Friday, so we will be talking about immigration. Again, there's not much good news. I've one bit of good news coming out, but majority of it is past wake-up call. I'm really, really sorry to say. Heartbroken to say. I was at the UN Pact, the UN Pact. The same fascists was there last night screaming, you know, Nazism, all the rest of it. Now, the only good thing that I can say, the group was way, way, way smaller than it normally is, and they had to be pinned in with the Gardaí because they're violent thugs that will not allow any other speech or any other voice than their own. Most of them are obviously paid by Soros. There's very few of them even believe or even understand what they're talking about. So that's the only good news. There does seem to be, from when I started speaking out about the dangers, which was about 4 years ago, a huge, like 5-10 times as big of a crowd last night. That wasn't a huge crowd, but it was definitely bigger than the so-called anti-fascists, which really are the fascists. And the stupidity of the left not understanding the far left is fascism, is Nazism, is socialists. And it's about more government control. The far right is about less government control. But like anything, like the abortion referendum, you cannot get through to these people. And I think when it goes to the voting, it will pass. Well, this isn't even going to go to voting. It'll just go through and he will sign it. And they have openly admitted they will sign it. It's very bad news. It'll be enacted straight away. So people who are criticising it will be criminalised pretty much straight away. These laws will happen fairly soon, like straight away as it stands. And you think back to the famine. We had 9 million before the famine was less than 3.5 to nearly 4 million afterwards. That was less than 2 years. That was 2 years. We're heading the same way again, people. It happens overnight, and you think that people have some sort of humanity or, you know, just that it'll be all okay. The people going into the famine would have thought that too. There was 3.5 times enough food in Ireland to feed the Irish. This is not a British gripe or anything. This is just the reality of what happened. There's 3.5 times enough food in this country to feed the Irish. This island is not Africa. It rains. The soil is very rich. Our agriculture is very rich. But the problem with the population was so big and they only were given a tiny piece of land to pay rent. So, and they had huge families because obviously there was no contraceptives then. So they had like 12, 15, 14 kids. So they needed food to put on the table each night for these children. So potatoes was the easiest. Now, ironically, we're importing more potatoes from the UK than we are producing. But aside from that fact, the land didn't get a chance to replenish. And the fungus did grow, but there was plenty of wheat and barley. In fact, we had the best year of barley through the famine in history. We had fish in the sea, always being shipped out by gunpoint. Now, what I'm saying is that was in 2 years. There was no warning. There is a warning, even though it's hidden. The majority of the Irish people don't know about this UN Pact or even understand what it means. It is a wipeout, and I'm not scaremongering. I'm not whatever that the stupid left would like to say. This is what's going to happen to Ireland. And unfortunately, all the bullshit talk about the Brexit, the British are going to sign it and they're going to be in the same situation as us. So it is wipeout of the ancient lands, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, and England will be wiped out. There's nothing I can say. It is extremely, extremely scary. There's not enough people awake, and they've become too soft to fight this, because before we fought the British, we had an Irish government, we had people to speak for the Irish, we had our own army, we were organised and ready because we had 700 years of understanding what was coming our way. The generation that are here have no idea of history or what our forefathers died for and fought for and organised to take over. They have no idea of that history. They have been indoctrinated into this leftist idea, this extreme leftist, and they actually think Hitler was right. They have no idea what's coming. There is no, as I was saying last week, it's taken, and it's like, when preparing the girl, the father said, Liam Neeson, he said, you just have to think about what you're going to do now. You will be taken. This is a done deal. We will be taken. And last week even I was thinking, maybe even to set up armies, governments. Even for the last weeks I've been telling you, stop using your credit cards, use your cash. We're going to have to set up armies, police force, courts, exactly repeat everything of 1916. I'm not sure that we can do this. This time around, I don't see the will in it. Now, admittedly, the will only came to the Irish. It was when they shot the 1916 and the Irish woke up and decided to fight back. Maybe it'll take that. Or maybe it'll take a lot of every weekend digging your children out of ditches and your women out of ditches from mass raping, murder. And if you won't be even allowed to speak about it, you'll be criminalised. It is even worse than the penal laws or anything else that's come into this land, because you cannot tell about your children. And they will be encouraged to grass on you. So if your child is dead, been gang raped and murdered, and you see her body in bits and you're taking it out of a grave, there will be others. And there was even back then in the 1916 who'd grass on each other. But they had a stronger identity of who they were because they were fighting it. The Irish nowadays don't have that strong identity. They think they're European or belonging to the world, or anybody born here, breathing here, becomes Irish. But it's so untrue. And the parents for the last few generations have had a hatred for the Irish. It's been indoctrinated in schools and governments. The next thing I will say to most people is, if you don't have the stomach, you can't do this. I'm not even sure I can do this. It's to start looking now. Look at Bulgaria, look at Hungary, look at Czech Republic, start doing researches on these countries and take your children out. If you have young children and you can't stomach, which majority of the Irish can't, We're not going to be able to stomach this. This is a massive fight. This is a global fight. And you will be criminalised. And you will be put in jail. And it's only a matter of time before they bring in corporate punishment for you speaking out about your child's body digging out of ditches. They're going to shut you up even more than they did the South Africans. Because there's been a bit of revolution coming about in a lot of Eastern European countries, and Austria. Austria is another country to look at, or even Italy. And they all have international schools. You have a choice of going to an American school or a British school, or even a French or a German school if you want your children to learn those languages. But there is all internationals. There is a way. Before I was saying to you, sell whatever you can and get out if you don't have the stomach. Now I'm actually going a step further after last night. Even though, as I said, I see a little bit of hope. There is 10 times more people. I just don't think they're waking up quick enough or even understanding the impact of not being able to criticise mass rape and mass murder of your people. And the fact that your people will be put at the end of the line when it comes to jobs, security, housing. They will not be put. The migrants, the new Irish, the diversity, as I like to call it, all these buzzwords, will be given houses, will be given free benefit. You will be paying taxes. Majority of them will sit in their arses and have 4 wives. You will have the pleasure to pay for them. The others will be given jobs that they're not qualified, not trained for, which will sink the economy as well. So what South African used to call window dressers. They put people in because they were told, same in Saudi Arabia. They were told to put them in, but they're not qualified. They can't do the job. They're not even educated, most of them. But so this diversity thing is a push. So you're going to end up with Ireland in such a bad situation because they will be given jobs ahead of the Irish, of the indigenous race, because they want this picture of multicultural. What they want is the end of people viewing Irish as the freckled white people with the red hair. They want it gone, and they'll want it gone quickly. So even if you look at advertisements now, in Irish ads, you'll see black or Asian looking children. And the Irish children have been pushed further afield. The schooling system, they're more delighted if they get a migrant or an African in, and they spend their time mollycoddling them while the Irish are left aside. These are the reality of this. And whether you want to continue on this. And I don't see a huge revolution in Ireland. I maybe see one in France. They went through an awful lot. Maybe in France. But in the end of the day, the French are cowards. But maybe they will surprise us. The Germans. This is exactly World War I and World War II. Germany is the ruler of Europe. They have taken over. It has been taken. But as a white indigenous race, they want you gone. They want these little puppets that they control, the black and the Asians. Mosques will be built all over the place. They will be taking in hundreds, thousands and millions of these people from third world countries who have no respect for life. And then you will be digging your children up, particularly your females, from ditches. This is your future. You've got to decide. As I was saying, you know, I don't even think you have time to sell your houses now. That's how far and dangerous we've gone. I think it's now time to start doing researches on where you're going to move to. As I said, Bulgaria, Hungary, Czech Republic, Austria, Italy, Croatia. Research everything. They all have international schools, so it's not a problem if you have your children. Jobs will be a problem, but they're going to be a problem here anyway. So it's a much of a muchness. As I said, they will be pushing and hiring black Africans and Islamic, and you will be pushed out. So as you've already seen in Dublin, you go into majority shops and companies. It's like spot the paddy. It's already happening. And it's only a matter of time it goes further and further, where it's rare to see an Irish person. And in towns already that's happening. Sorry to be so depressing, but it's better to be even prepared. Maybe, hopefully I'm completely wrong. I've been right so far. I started talking about 4 or 5 years ago of the fundamentalist threat of Ireland. People ignored me, scaremongering, bigot, racist, all the normal words. And everything I'm saying has come true. Has come home to roost. Our next thing is that we will be pushed out of everything from their kindergartens to their schools. They will want this so-called diversity, so they will be taking on. If your child is black, it'll be more than welcome. They will bend backwards to try and get your child in, which I'm sure it's happening already. Or if you're white, they will push and push, and possibly you'll have to keep your children back until there's not so many looking for a place. Same with jobs, same with housing, the same with everything. Eventually they'll have us on food stamps. They will have the government complete control, and mostly black Africans, particularly North Africans and Asians, are easier to control. And that's why they want them. So you either stay here, which I think is probably more of a suicide mission at this stage, or you start looking at Eastern Europe or Austria and Hungary and decide for the next year or 2 years, who knows, maybe the new government and the Irish will wake up and get a right-wing government. I don't see it, because I think they've been indoctrinated so far with the hate of everything who they are. I can't see a right-wing government coming in. I think this is going to be a long, sad journey, and this is going to be a genocide before they wake up and go, hang on, the Irish have a right to live in Ireland and be safe in Ireland. The Irish have a right to have a home in Ireland. The Irish have a right to be educated in Ireland. The Irish have a right to practice their religion. The Irish have a right, just like they've been in loss, but they have forgotten history or don't even know history, and how quickly this will happen. I think it'll be implemented straight away. Now, we may not see the deaths straight away, but they've been bringing in the immigrants at night time when we are all in bed, and they've been doing that for the last 2 years, 3 years. They've been flying them in. That's why when we wake up, towns and everything have been changed, because they've been doing this at night time, focusing in at night time, bringing in aeroplanes after aeroplanes of North African and Muslims. There will be 6 new mosques in this year, huge multi-mosques. And to criticise anything about Islam will be criminalised. The same with the mass immigrants. You will not be able to speak up. This is where it becomes extremely dangerous. This is Nazism in full force. This is everything Hitler dreamed of is happening, and it's here. And the left are so stupid. Majority of them think Nazism was something to do with right wing, and that's why they scream Nazism. Hitler was a socialist. They know nothing of history, and that's why it's so dangerous. Majority of them have gone to liberal schools, as I did myself. But for some reason, I have changed a corner and understood that what they were teaching was completely inaccurate by reading history yourself and finding it out, finding the hard way. But the harder way is even going to come to the real leftists, and it's like an investment. They've invested into this idea that they will not give up. I had a conversation with this lady on Facebook who couldn't understand why the doctors didn't want to perform abortion. And I had to stop and think, why would you think that they would want to perform abortion? She's like, well, if it's someone else's body, why would they care? And I'm like, what do you honestly think abortion is? Do you think you just take a magic pill and you become unpregnant? It's like, whoa, it's all gone. Isn't that amazing? I was like, the baby has to come out. It doesn't just disappear magically. This pill is not magic. The baby will have to come out in parts with chopped arms, chopped head, chopped legs, or late term, as they will be doing in Ireland, up to 9 months, without pain relief. It comes out whole. The baby comes out whole. They have to try and inject because it's too difficult, obviously, with a fully formed baby, to start chopping legs and arms in a womb. They have to inject the baby through the heart, which is quite difficult, as you can imagine, because the baby moves around. So a lot of these babies come out alive. Now in Ireland, what's going to happen is when the baby comes out alive, the long-term abortions, it will not be allowed any life-saving treatment. So it will be left to die in pain. Now, whether they will continue on the abortion after birth is more than likely, because up to 9 months the baby can fully form without anything. In fact, after 20 weeks, they need an incubator for those few. But certainly as you get on further, after an incubator, near 9 months, a lot of premature babies have went on to live. So if the injection isn't put in properly, and the Irish doctors haven't performed this, there will be many fuck-ups. And you don't have to sign for your teen daughter who may be frightened and may kind of think this is a great option to do, will die. Some will die, some of them have serious life implications, and the parents will not know until they're bearing their child and their grandchild. Well, they probably won't be bearing their grandchild. Their grandchild will be thrown in some sort of furnace to get rid of the body, and their child, they will be bearing, or will go on to leave serious life-threatening implications. And this is what the Irish voted for. They actually didn't understand what they were voting for. Like a lot with the Irish, they thought that it was just a repeal, and they were brainwashed by the left as 1% that barely happens. So the 99% of the real cases, which majority of women choose, will be happening. It is a scary, scary country, with the leftists being completely overrun in this country. They will justify your deaths when this mass migrants, and it's already started through the EU, but it'll be 10 times worse, the UN, and you will not be able to talk about it. So you will be picking up dead bodies each weekend. It will be dead bodies, and it'll be whose dead bodies it is. It'll be like South Africa. We'll need walkie-talkies to check on each other to see if you made it through the night, and that is what's coming. Now people say I'm scaremongering. Or you have to look at Europe and the mass rapes and the murders, or the UK, and see what's coming. The best thing is, I was saying, was to sell your house. As I say now, I don't think there is enough time to sell your house. I think if you've young children, the best is to start looking at countries in Eastern European and move and set up a life. You set up an Irish community. There is international schools, there's Americans, and there is British schools. Work-wise and social security is an issue. Whether you can work under the table, that's something you're going to all have to look at, or whether it's worth staying here and seeing how this plays out, whether you want to take a chance. I can't see being able to fight this because it's so global. As I said before at the beginning of this tape, is that the only hope is there is a lot of Eastern European countries that have woken up, and hopefully, it'll spread. I mean, it is in Austria and Italy. Denmark have come out with a statement: unwanted migrants will be sent to an island. That's all I can say. The country has been taken. There is no way back now. It is far too late. The Irish ignored too much warnings for far too long. It could have been solved 4 years ago. This is not going to be solved, not without a lot of blood, if it even gets solved. But there will be many Irish people who will die, who will be murdered. And unfortunately for the left, a lot of it'll be them who will open their arms to these migrant centres, who will go in and help the migrants, so-called migrant children who turn out to be grown men, put them into their houses. You'll find most of them turn up dead first of all. Girls going into nightclubs. Also, you'll be searching for your children. Your children will never be able to be free again, particularly if you're a female child. The freedom is gone for them. They will have to almost live like Muslims, and that is a very sad reality for the next generation, because they are not going to be safe in the streets because of the amount of Muslims coming in who feel that it's their obligation to control and teach women a lesson. How dare they act free? And that they're sinners, and that more than sins, that's haram, and that they should die a painful death for their actions. Thank you for listening on the Bon Re Show. It's a bit of a depressing kind of, but it's a wake-up call, people. It's way past a wake-up call, unfortunately. My heart is broken. After last night, there was good thing. There is a lot more people awake. Whether there's enough, I don't know. Because the real problem is the government, and all of the government, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and Sinn Féin, are the serious problem. And until they're out of office, we're in deep water, and I can't see the Irish voting for a new party. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they will turn around and surprise me. And I very much hope I'm wrong. I really hope I am wrong. So wrong. But I've been right so far on each of the steps. So, if you don't want this, have a look up. There is plenty of countries. But just go. Take up, don't even sell your house. And see how it plays out in Ireland. If you've young children, go now. Thank you for listening again on the Bon Re Show, ITV.ie and Irish News Radio.
You are listening to Irish News Radio and irishnews.net. Email news@irishnews.net.